Hello, my beloved viewers, students, and friends. Today I'm going to be recording one of my most favorite kinds of videos to record, and it's a fun fact about the history of Russian. Today we're going to be talking about the old names for the months of the year, and they were very much based on nature. So in order to get in touch with my inner Slav, I'm out in the forest back behind my house, and it's actually raining a little bit, so you might hear some raindrops in the background. So I first came to be aware of these interesting words for the month of the year when I started learning Ukrainian, and I noticed that the words in Ukrainian for the various months of the year, not only were they nothing like English, they were nothing like Russian. And so I started to get interested in it, and I noticed that, they have to do with things that are happening in nature. And then I found out that in old Slavic languages, all of the Slavs use these kinds of words for months of the year. So I'm not going to address all of the different Slavic languages because I think the only two that have maintained these old Slavic words for the months of the year, or the only four that have maintained these old Slavic words for the months of the year, are Ukrainian, Belarusian, Czech, and Polish. And feel free to correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. So I did some research, and this is where I kind of need my viewers' help. I could not figure out at what point they stopped using the old Slavic words and started using the Latin words, which is what is present in most of these Slavic languages today. So if you know the answer to that, I'm assuming it maybe has something to do with Peter the Great, but I'm not sure. So if you know the answer to that, please leave a comment below and link me to your source where you found that, because I seriously scoured the internet and couldn't find anything. Okay, so we're going to start off with my least favorite season. Because all of these words in Old Russian, they all kind of are very similar, and that is winter. So we're going to start off with December. The word for December in Old Russian was studeń, coming from the word studiony, meaning frozen or frost. And today in modern Ukrainian, it's hrudень. Again, a word for cold. And then we go into January. And the word for January in Old Russian was prasinyets. So that comes from the verb siyat, meaning to shine. And on the surface, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I wouldn't say that January is an especially sunny month. But if you think about it, January is where the days start to get slightly longer. And that's the kind of thing that the ancient Slavs would have been paying attention to. Now, February is the most appropriately named month, in my opinion, because I just about died in February in Russia. That was the point where I was just done with winter, and I swear it got even more brutal than it had been in December and January. And so accordingly, that month is named in Old Russian and Ukrainian Luty, which means cruel. And if you have ever lived through a Russian winter, you've realized that snow does not fall in Russia. It doesn't fall from the sky. No, it blows straight in your face no matter what direction you're facing, and your eyelashes get all caked, and it's so miserable. And so yes, cruel is a very appropriate name for February. Thank God there's only 28 days in that month, can I just tell you? Okay, enough ranting. Now we're into spring. The word for spring in Old Russian, and I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this, is berezazol, which is based on the word for birch trees, which is beryozy. And they're very popular. They're all over in Eastern Europe, especially Russia and Ukraine. And the word for March in Ukrainian is also based on this, berezень. And that would be because that's the month where the birch trees start to get little green leaves on them. And an interesting fact about birch trees, they actually produce a juice that you can tap into the tree and drink. And one of my friend's grandpas actually survived World War II by hiding in the forest and drinking birch tree juice. It just tastes like sugary water, but apparently it has enough nutrients in it to keep you alive. Okay, I got sidetracked. Sorry about that. Next is April. What starts to grow in April? Something starts to sprout up from the ground. Sure enough, the word for April in Old Russian was цветень, from the word цветы, which means flowers. And then in Ukrainian, the word for April is kvitень, from the Ukrainian word kvity, which means flowers in Ukrainian. Then we get to May. Again, the earth is coming to life. May is called travень in Old Russian and modern day Ukrainian, and that's from the word trava in Russian, which means grass. Now, June's a little bit interesting. It's not so obvious right off the top where it comes from. So the word for June in Old Russian and modern day Ukrainian is czerweń. So I thought maybe this had something to do with cherv, like a worm. But I asked my Ukrainian teacher, and she said, no, it's from the Ukrainian word for red, which is chervony, and that's actually the same word in Old Russian for red, chervony. And she said it's because in June, that's when you start to see a lot of red berries becoming ripe. And I got thinking about that, and yeah, sure enough, when I was a kid, we were out in the garden picking strawberries in June. So that makes sense. Okay, the Slavs were smart people. So July is called Lipeń in Old Russian and modern Ukrainian, based on the linden tree, which is apparently in full bloom at this time of year. Then we get into August. This is the harvest time. And August is called in Old Russian and Ukrainian Serpeń, named after the serp, which you can see here, the sickle. Where else in Russian history have we seen a serp before? So yeah, the Slavs would have been out harvesting, using their sickles to harvest, and that would have happened in the month of August. Then we get into September. September is Veriseń. And that's apparently when this bush, the Verisk, which translates into English as Kaluna, don't ask me, I'm not an expert on flora and fauna, but that's when this is in bloom. Now we get into the cutest months of all, I think, October and November. October in modern Ukrainian is żółty, which in Ukrainian żółty means yellow. Again, if you've ever been in Eastern Europe, you know that yellow is actually the more predominant color for the fall instead of some of the orange that you see in Maine and the United States. And another interesting thing here, though, look at Old Russian. There was a lot of variation in my research of what the months were in Old Russian. But one of my favorite names for October that I found was kapustnik. Kapustnik. Kapusta means cabbage in Russian. And apparently, October was the time of year where they would harvest the cabbage and then they would turn it into sauerkraut. And that was the time of year that you did it. So that's where that name kapustnik came from. There was also another name svadyebnik, from the Russian word svadьба, which means wedding. So October would have been the time of year where the harvest had slowed down and they were able to start having weddings. So I thought that was really interesting. So November, and since it is November right now, November in Old Russian and modern day Ukrainian is listopad. Listopad. List meaning leaf, pad meaning falling. So, leaf falling month. Isn't that the most adorable thing you've ever heard in your life? So I hope you liked learning about these old months of the year. In the future, I'm going to be doing a lot more posts on the history of Russian. My next post here in the next couple of weeks is going to be about Slavic mythology and some of the words that are left over in today's language that have to do with mythology. Also, if you liked learning about this and you're interested to know what were the names of these months in all the other Slavic languages, go ahead and come find me on Instagram. I'm College Russian over there. And please leave a comment below. Maybe you speak another Slavic language and you know some of those interesting names that your Slavic language had back in the day. Or maybe you speak a different language completely and you also have interesting ways that you call your months in your language. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and participate in the comments below because there's so much useful stuff that comes from my viewers in the comments, and that's always my most favorite part about putting videos out is reading all those comments. So again, I hope to see you over on Instagram, and I can't wait to read your comments below. Это всё, до свидания!